She's still laughing.
That's so funny. Welcome to 5 Lemons Left. We're the real stuff, the lemons making lemonade. So pucker up, because we're going to be discussing our life's lessons and the nitty-gritty details of our spiritual journeys.
Hey y'all, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Drusilla.
I'm Melissa.
Hello, this is Morgan.
And I'm Penny. Welcome to our podcast today.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 5 Lemons Laughing.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah, we are talking about prosperity and abundance.
Or abundance and prosperity.
Oh, what?
Abundance leads to prosperity, or prosperity leads to abundance, huh?
You know, it's all on the table. At the end of last week, we had a beautiful guest. Her name was Lori, and she teaches intuition. She does card readings, and we asked her to pull some cards for us at the very end. So if you didn't have an opportunity to listen to will be the one right before this, if you're curious about cultivating your intuition. And the cards that were chosen for us for the 5 Lemons Laughing was choose a grateful mindset now and choose a prosperous mindset. So that's one of the big reasons we're talking about this, is we are allowing that intuitive hit to lead us in this direction. And I'm just curious, Penny, you were talking about prosperity and abundance. I mean, you know, not to put you on the spot, but spot you're on.
Okay. I think we're pretty good. Well, first of all, I want to say we're missing our Melissa, our fifth lemonette. She is over in Greece looking for her, what would you call it? Her abundant home, her prosperous home. She's looking to change her stars like you did, Amanda. Yeah. So now what were you asking me, Amanda? I'm sorry. I just wanted to say, Melissa, we miss you.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Miss you. About a prosperity, anyone, it doesn't have to be you. Like, What does prosperity mean to you? What does abundance mean to you? Is there a difference? And if so, what is it?
I can just see Drusilla wants to answer it.
Passing the buck.
Well,
passing the penny.
Yeah. Well, I see that Morgan probably looks like she wants to answer. I'm not gonna do that.
Y'all are so funny.
Oh gosh.
5 Lemons Laughing.
So I just will say whatever's on my heart right now. And so if I had to think about which came first, the chicken or the egg, I would say that abundance. I think feeling abundant, having an abundance of any of I like to say our gifts, meaning our spiritual gifts, leads to abundance in form. So, for example, if I am able to acknowledge and live in an abundance of love, then I can allow that abundance to overflow into everything that I encounter, everyone and everything, right?
Nice.
And that, and that manifests in form and leads to everything that your heart desires. So that's how I look at abundance. And I look at prosperity as being the result of that, meaning I will have a prosperous life if I live in abundance, the flow of abundance. That's kind of how I look at it from a kind of high level overview of what the two words means to me. And for me personally, and areas that I feel abundant in are love, and some degree. There's some areas that I still feel I have blockages and love, because I don't feel that my heart is fully open all the time. I have felt that at times, but not consistently. So I know that there are some things, could be some, who knows, trauma from the past or past relationships or things that have been said or done that I'm holding on to that I need to release, that are blocks to love. Um, Other areas of abundance, I do feel that I have an abundance of peace. That's one thing that I think I've worked really hard at. Um, I think probably about 4 years ago was when I made a commitment to know the peace of God and to understand what that is and what that feels like. And I do feel like no matter what's going on in my life, no matter how turbulent that might be on the surface, that there is an underlying stillness, serenity, and peace that I feel at all times.
Wow.
So that's one area that I feel really abundant in. And I always pray that wherever I go, that people are enveloped by that peace, no matter what's going on in their lives. So that's kind of how I try to manage that part of abundance. Those two things, at least. So I'll just start with that. I think that's a good start. Did I do you well?
You
Yeah,
did.
good job.
Yeah. Because I was thinking when you were talking abundance, it really, it does what I got from that. It's an overflowing of life, right? That's an abundance.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mhm.
abundance. Yeah.
Yes.
I love that. I love that feeling. And it reminded me of, and you translated that to how it shows up in prosperity in your life. That's kind of like little Abraham Hicks, right? So like you live in this feeling of abundance and other things just come to you.
In a class that I was in recently, the facilitator was saying that in order to, well, think of a teacup, and we drink the tea. That's how we fill ourselves up first. But it's in the saucer of the teacup. The overflow of the tea is what we have to give, and that's where our abundance is. So I always want my saucer to be full as from my teacup. I'm not sure if I'm really explaining that well, but
I like that.
but it's just
I love that you said that. And I love, Amanda, what you pulled out from Drusilla's share, because when we were kind of kicking around our topic before we started recording, I just kind of did a quick check-in, like, well, how do I define abundance? How do I define prosperity? And the words that came to me for abundance was overflowing, and for
Mhm.
prosperity was well-being. And so I think that it is that feeling of overflowing, and okay, I don't remember which of the Claires this is, but the accompanying feeling when I got that overflowing word was this feeling of like just blissed out, high on life, happy and full, like full of overflowing with joy,
Mhm.
overflowing with peace, a serenity, or overflow. So, with any of those spiritual gifts that you mentioned, Drusilla, like just that sense of overflowing and there being more than enough, and it's spilling out onto your saucer. That was like the kind of the sensation that I felt.
Mhm.
Which Claire is that? Claire sentient? We talked about that in the last episode. That's why I'm bringing up the Claire. Sorry.
It would be the feeling, right? I think that would
Yeah.
be sentience.
That is
Yeah.
sentient. Yes.
Yeah.
The feeling. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So what about, so we talked about prosperity a lot. So then what's abundant? I mean, we talked about abundance a lot. So let's dive into prosperity a little bit.
What about you, Amanda? Kicking it to you. What is prosperity for you?
I know prosperity doesn't necessarily mean money. And at the same time, like my personal definition of prosperity is tied to money, health. Like, it is like abundance. I can see the overall, right? Like an abundance of power, the wind, an abundance of water, an abundance of love. Like I can feel that the wind, right? The wind just kicked up when I said an abundance of wind.
You're powerful.
Yeah. It's not me that's power. So prosperity is a reflection. I think, Drusilla, you really nailed it. It's like it's allowing the abundance of life to overflow. And then prosperity, to me, is like how it manifests. So like being comfortable with the amount of money that I have, being comfortable with my health, being prosperous in my health. Healthy, wealthy, and wise is what's coming to my mind. Yeah.
Mhm.
I like that.
Mm-hmm. And that's while you guys are thinking, that's one way that I did cultivate a prosperity, like dollars in my life, was allowing the abundance. So I've described it here before, but I live in New Mexico and the sky is so big. Like you can literally see, like, I know something that's 100 miles away on a mountaintop. Like I can see that mountain, right? That's an abundance of openness. That's an abundance of recognition. And the wind here, especially in the spring, is really strong. And just instead of seeing it as blowing dirt in my house, it's an abundance of power, and like really allowing that and tapping into that helped me cultivate my dollars better, right? Like I got to see differently my money. And it was not necessarily my money that I'm bringing in grew. The amount, since I felt so overflowing, I didn't feel the urge to have to spend money to fill that hole. So now I actually have a lot more money because the feeling of abundance has allowed prosperity in my life.
Wow, that's a great distinction, Amanda.
That was a lot. Okay, so what else gets to talk now?
That was great, actually.
Yeah,
I really
was.
Yeah. Because it's true. I mean, a few episodes ago too, we talked about like in our 20s, we're striving, 30s, we're earning and spending, 40s, 50s. So as we get into our 50s, we just don't mostly need as much, right? Because we're more, I guess we're becoming more self-actualized, introspective, all of that good stuff that leads us to have a more abundant mindset than worrying about the things that we have.
Yes. Well, I just looked up the definition of prosperity.
Oh, good.
And it's the condition of being successful or thriving. And what I hear in your share, Amanda, is that your definition of being successful and thriving has shifted, and that has affected your finances and that expression of prosperity and abundance in your life, or the abundance. I don't know. Yeah. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that is so true. My definition of what a prosperous and abundant life looks like is completely different than it was in my early 40s. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I've spoken about this on previous episodes, but my definition of success and thriving is actively like in the process of shifting and sorting and stuff like that too. I think it's just a natural process process of, like you were saying, Penny, as we age and become more self-actualized and become more introspective and just start reevaluating all of those things.
Yeah. I think it's called getting wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that wise has to be in age, or do you think someone, can accelerate that? Someone that is in their early 40s can just jump right over,
Yeah, absolutely.
I see it on TikTok and people in their teens and early 20s. So yeah.
I sometimes say, oh my gosh.
Track.
I sometimes say, oh my gosh, that's an old soul in that little body, that young body. Because you can just tell they got a lot of wisdom coming through. Yeah. But getting back to abundance, I think that my definition of abundance is very similar to what you all have been saying, and prosperity as well. I like to think that I take from my saucer, and sometimes my saucer doesn't have very much in it because I'm talking energy. I'm going to focus mine on energy and what I have to give of myself. I think because I think there's so many different facets of abundance, right? It can be money. It can be, I don't know, just so many different ways that you can look at abundance, that I'm going to look at it from an energetic perspective. And so I frequently, and I'm doing better, but I like give from my cup versus letting it be from my overflow. And so then what does that happen? What happens to me then is I'm depleting myself versus filling myself up first, being abundant to myself. And then from that, when my cup is full, then the overflow can be given to others. So that's something that I've been working on a long time, is to make sure that I'm taking care of Penny first and then giving from the overflow. It's been a process, let me tell you. Yeah, but I'm getting better. I think I'm making progress, and you all are helping.
Isn't that just a major mind shift too, right? Because that's not what society teaches us, like society as a whole, right? Especially women, right? To give. The mindset is to give. Like,
right.
Yes.
Yeah, even though they say put your oxygen mask on first, it's really not true. You're supposed to.
And there are other ways to give that aren't so depleting, because I mentioned in the previous episode that I'm reading Deepak's 7 Laws of Spiritual Success. I called it by the wrong name in the last episode, but one of the laws is the law of giving. And it talks about just giving to every single person that you encounter. And of course, it can be a tangible gift or money, but just as and more powerful is giving a blessing or giving a prayer. And it's like you're giving from the bank account that you don't really have to give from, but you have these other bank accounts that you have surpluses in that you could just as easily give from. So I've been working on that giving mindset, because we so often associate it with giving lavish gifts and big tips, but it doesn't have to be that. And so, and everything is energy. You said you were going to talk about abundance in terms of energy. Well, money is energy too. So there's the return on investment. If you give a blessing or a prayer, is no different than a return on investment if you bless somebody with $100 bill. So don't think it's ineffectual if you don't have that $100 to give, but you have the blessing to give.
That's true, Morgan. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
Yeah.
What would it look like if we walked around and gave the gift of non-judgment? Wow.
Oh gosh. Yes. It looks like abundance for yourself. That's what it looks like, in peace. Abundance of peace for yourself.
Ooh, talk more about that. Why would that happen, Drusilla?
Well, because you don't feel judged, right? We know that the judger always feels judged. So it removes that from you, that you're not walking around feeling judged. You're not walking around feeling the need to defend yourself about various things, not carrying attachments. So all of that is what leads to an abundance of peace for yourself. So to give all, so to give all is to have all. So you're giving up all judgment, and therefore you are not judged and you don't feel judged.
Mm-hmm. I like that. To give all is to have all. Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm. Or to have all, give all. Yeah.
Ooh.
Both are
Switching
true.
it on me now.
I think the
You
Course
know,
in
and
Miracles
honestly,
quote
I
is
think,
like to have, give all to all, or something like that. But
and even from a religious standpoint, with tithing, and it's basically that, you don't give from the overflow, you give from the first of your fruit.
Yes.
And that is to, the premise of that is to teach you to always have your hand open. So that means that you are trusting. That's the best way to trust, that you are going to receive everything you need. Everything you need is already given to you, right? So to have your hand open, meaning anything that goes out of it and anything that comes into it, you have no attachment to it. And that allows you to freely trust that everything you need will be provided for you.
yeah.
I love that. This week I've been hiring some extra help to get our yard ready. We're having a party the middle of June, for my daughter's wedding. And so we have to spruce up our property. And yesterday it was just so interesting. I went into scarcity around and thinking that I needed to control what they were doing. I gave them the task. And then I kind of walked away, and then I thought, then I got nervous for a second. And I thought, oh, are they doing enough work? Are they working hard enough for the money that I'm paying them? And then I just had to let it go because I needed to go to the office. And so I really had the opportunity to shift my mindset from fear and lack, like they're going to, steal time from me and steal money from me because they're not really going to be doing the work. And when I got home about 4 hours later, it was just like, oh my gosh, look at all the work they got done. It was just fabulous. And I didn't have to do anything but just give them the task, tell them how much I was going to pay them an hour, and then let them do the work. And so I switched from that lack mentality to the abundant mentality and the trust mentality because it's so easy for me. I'm not going to say it for the world, but it's so easy for me to get into fear and lack thinking, scarcity thinking, because that's totally the opposite of abundance is scarcity. And so I just loved that. And I'm just going to trust they're still working today. And I'm just going to trust that everything gets done that needs to be done. And I can give to have all, or to, I can have, or no, to have, give all to all. So I'm giving all to all this week to let them get my yard all beautified.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like how you
That's
shifted
beautiful.
that, Penny.
Yeah.
Nice.
And you
I
can
love
feel
the-
it energetically, right?
Yeah.
And that's priceless. That's priceless.
Yeah. What I loved about it is it didn't take me a long time to shift the perspective either, which I absolutely am grateful for.
Yeah, that's definitely worth celebrating.
Yeah.
That's the miracle.
Yes. So
Well,
go ahead, Morgan.
sorry. Well, I just, on the topic of giving, what came up for me is like in Kundalini yoga, you are supposed to require some exchange from your students. It's like, it's a necessary component of the exchange for them to receive like maximum benefit from the class. And so it can be a donation, or, you can make whatever types of allowances if they want to offer some different type of an exchange. But it makes me think of like, when people sign up for free classes, they don't participate as fully as if they're paying for a class. You know what I mean? And when we read that book, what's the Lynn Twist book, The Soul of Money? She talked
Yes.
about how, like, when going into third world countries and solving problems for these communities, if the community was not an active participant in coming up with that solution, then 9 times out of 10, there was not a long-term benefit from the donations. So like getting people energetically involved in this giving and this flow of giving and receiving, and to where they're not just receiving a handout without some sort of energetic exchange is so important. And I think that can inform our like receptivity to abundance too. Like, are we just looking for a handout? Are we giving but not receiving? And I want to share one other story. Someone booked a counseling session with me before I had set up the payment, like where you have to pay in advance to book a session. And she didn't come, like she was a stranger. She found me through social media. And I didn't know I wasn't prepared for that. So I wasn't prepared to have the conversation with her about like, well, this is my rate. How are you going to pay me? So I didn't. And we never exchanged payment for that. And I felt energetically like something was off about that, but I let it go. And I didn't begrudge her. I mean, I knew it was my thing that I hadn't sorted out properly. And it was a learning experience for me. And I've since corrected it so that won't happen again. So I just chalked it up to my learning. That was my learning. And I let it go. And about 2 months later, that girl reached out to me. She lives here in Puerto Viejo, and she had just come back into town. And she said, I'm feeling called to offer you a free sound bath on the beach. Would you like to do that? And I was like, oh, this is my full circle moment with this. Yes, I will do that with you. So I loved that demonstration. And that didn't have to be the end of the story. That like, I didn't receive, I gave and I didn't receive. The circle was not complete, but then it did end up completing when I let go of attachment to what that needed to look like. So I just thought that was a fun story to share.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It is beautiful. And what I heard from a thread that I'm hearing is that there's a huge element of trust in allowing abundance and prosperity. Yeah.
Yes.
So how do you do that? Like, if you could think back, like go back like 10 years in your life, like how did you develop the trust, enough trust to allow prosperity and abundance in your life?
There's just in my life, I do. I mean, sure, maybe someplace I do, but I know that I will always be okay when it comes to monetary abundance. I just have that feeling. I know that if our, like I've talked in past episodes, our company will close down, I'll become a bag lady. No, I'll never become a bag lady. I will always be able to manifest the perfect job, the perfect way to make money. I know that. It's just an inner knowing, I guess. I don't know how to explain it, but I've had that thought for a long, long time that, I'm not that worried about it. I don't think I'm deluded. I don't think that's deluded thinking either. My brother sometimes tells me, well, Penny, you've got plenty now. You don't have to worry about money.
Has it always been that way for you, Penny, since you were a child, or when do you think that you started to notice that?
Okay, so this is what just popped in my mind. It might have been when I started having a lot of monetary success in jobs that I had, where then money didn't become an issue any longer. There's probably some more inquiry there.
Yeah, I feel the same. But I recall, and I think I've told the story before, I knew as young as probably 10 is the age that I remember Now, just to put things in perspective, I grew up very poor. Like my mom had 10 kids and my father and her were divorced by the time I was born. So yes, so very poor. But I remember that one of my close cousins and I used to be together all the time. And every time we would go off somewhere to like skating or to do anything that involved money, I would spend all my money and she would keep hers. And it was, and I never felt bad about it. I just remember that as we got older, we were actually in our 30s and we went on vacation together with her sister and then one of our other cousins. And spending money, just spending it, paying for dinners and everything. And then we started rotating and she never paid for anybody's. So we had the conversation about it. And she has always had this strong attachment to money. And obviously, I never had it. So for me, Penny, it was even as a young child, I just never came from a place of lack when it came down to, money.
What do you
But
think
I was
contribute
gonna
to that,
say,
Drusilla?
I don't know. I think I always just say that's just probably not my lesson for this lifetime.
Oh, okay.
That's
That
what
makes
I believe.
sense.
That's
Yeah.
just, yeah. And she does really well in life, but she admittedly has a strong affinity or attachment to money.
Or she's just tight.
Yeah. And I
Yes.
would bet you that even though she does really well, that she doesn't feel abundant.
Probably not. I don't know that she does.
I mean, that sounds judgmental, but just like from listening to the way you talk about the way she treats money, going back to that Soul of Money book, money is a current and it's got to be flowing in and out of our life. And she gives the example of the Dead Sea, where the river flows into the Dead Sea, but it doesn't flow back out. It just is hoarded there and nothing can live in the Dead Sea.
Yeah.
Versus, you know what I mean? Like there has to be that flow. So sorry to interrupt.
And it's still all about the energy. It doesn't matter. There's some people that will appear to be prosperous, right? They will appear to have an abundance of wealth. But that doesn't mean, like you said, Morgan, that doesn't mean that they feel abundant and they have a prosperous life, meaning they feel the love, the peace, overflowing and bliss that you also spoke about, Morgan. So yes, you're absolutely right. There's plenty of people that are wealthy but may not feel like they have a prosperous or abundance of love or generosity, I guess is another overarching word that we could use.
Oh, that's a good word. Yeah.
Generosity. Yeah. Beautiful.
I like to think I'm very generous. And I've been told that before too.
Yeah. So maybe it wasn't since you became an adult, Penny. Maybe it was always there. And maybe that's why you were able to always be able to have a sustainable lifestyle. So maybe that's
not always.
Okay.
True. I overcharged on credit cards. I had like $20,000 worth of debt. So I guess that was coming from abundance.
I experienced that. It's not like I've always just had an overflow, but I've always felt abundant. Even when I was charging to take care of things, I still was generous of heart. And I knew that about myself. So it wasn't like I was one of those people who was always concerned about where the money was going to come from. I knew it was just, I need to make sure I get from this place to this place so I can be back in that place again. And, but I always recognized that there was an energy involved in it and not just, money as a tangible.
Yeah. Yeah, because the Course in Miracles makes fun of it. Like you put so much value in these little green strips of paper and metal discs. It's like, why are we valuing these nothings? I want to kick it to Amanda because we haven't heard from you in a little bit. Any any like tools or things that you use to tap into that state of feeling abundant, feeling prosperous, particularly when maybe something happens that kind of knocks you off kilter a little bit?
So it was over 10 years ago that Mike and I, like, my dad died. One of his friends, one of my husband's friends, died of colon cancer, which is, we were in our early 40s. And it really just gave us a life check, right? Like, are we living? And then it just, a light switch flipped, and I completely trusted that something different was going to happen. Right when it happened, we didn't know what it was. Still, we didn't know what it was as we were moving through it. But that go back to that trust, like something is changing and I'm trusting it's all for our good. Right. So that was the element of trust. So that was the biggest thing, is cultivating trust, listening to intuition or developing that intuitive hit and just knowing. And somebody else mentioned something about friends, like, jibber jabbering in your ears, like, and not listening to all the other people's, like, aren't you afraid? Or what if it doesn't work out? Or la, la, la. I'm like, no, this is exactly, I just felt that trust. And that was the first step for me in cultivating that prosperity and abundance. Absolutely. And then, when I was working, once we lived here, it's been several years. I worked at a brewery called Bear Creek Brewing Company.
I came and visited you at that place.
I did too.
Oh, yeah, both Penny and Morgan have been there with me. Yes.
Morgan. I love that place.
Yeah, that was fun. So I would start like cultivating this prosperity and abundance. Like I was learning my spiritual craft. So I would lay the groundwork. I would think clearly. I would send the angels ahead to, as I was going to work. When I was sanitizing all the tables before people got there, I was like blessing the tables, blessing the chairs as I was wiping them down. I really cultivated when we shared all of our tips at that point. So I was really cultivating, this, this isn't my money. Like, this one person is not my source, right? It's an energy source, and blessing the money and then helping my coworkers, not like put negativity on the money. Right. Like, I'm like, no, don't be thinking that about our money. So, and that was that's a really practical tips, is blessing the people, letting go of this person is my source, and just allowing the flow of it. And really letting go of judgment too is huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
There must have been a huge shift at that beautiful restaurant when you were doing all that, Amanda.
Oh, it was big shifts.
I bet you guys became very like drawn. People were drawn to that place.
Oh my God. We made so much money. I mean, people just threw money at us. I mean, at the end of the day, we would just laughed, right? It was
wow.
And it was funny. It was fun. It's fun working with young people and running around,
I was a blackjack dealer when I went to college in North Dakota. They had charitable gambling. And so it was $2 was the maximum bet. But I would go home with hundreds of dollars because I had so much fun, and I always won. And the people always lost, but they would win and then lose. But we had so much fun at the table that I always got huge tips. And I just, it was so fun. And yeah. And the charity did well too.
Yeah. Everybody wins.
Yeah, exactly.
So fun has to be in there somewhere. Fun and laughter about, is completely tied to prosperity and abundance.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I want to mention one other thing about the book that I'm reading right now. One of the laws, I think it's the fourth law, the fifth law, is the law of least effort. And I am loving this law. Basically, it says that you like we're trying to get to the point where like our actions are minimal while achieving maximal results. Just kind of like the flower doesn't have to effort to bloom. We don't have to effort to have abundance and prosperity. That's our natural state of being. We just
let's just pay somebody else, right?
Well, that could be it. It could work like that.
There is something in the Bible, like the lilies of the field. Don't worry about being beautiful. That is just a bad. Like I am totally messing that quote up. I'm gonna have to Google it.
That's so funny.
I don't know that full quote, but I have heard the lilies of the field.
Yeah, I'm Googling it right now because it's a good one.
Can we also talk about the fact that Amanda's wearing a Cheech and Chong shirt?
I thought that said Cheech. I loved them growing up.
And let me tell you about abundance, right? This is just a different mindset because one of my friends just gave me this shirt because I was helping them go through. They put bids, they buy storage lockers, right? The people, they bid on them and they get them. And we were laughing and having fun. We were going through some stuff and this shirt, my Cheech and Chong shirt came up. And she was like, "Oh my God, that's your shirt."
There's another book that I want to just talk about that is one of my favorite books, and it's by Tosha Silver, and it's Not Your Money, How to Live Fully and from Divine Abundance. So it's really, she quotes A Course in Miracles. She's a yogini, so she has all the yogic perspectives in the book too. And she has this really beautiful prayer, and it's called the Change Me Prayer. And I was wondering if it would be okay sometime during this episode soon. I'm thinking because I think we're coming close to the end. I would love to, say the prayer with you all and for all of our listeners, because I think it's just a beautiful prayer about divine abundance.
I love that prayer too. I think it'd be a lovely way to close us out today.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do that. But that's another great book. If any of our listeners are looking to delve deeper into what divine abundance is and how to live fully from it, that book is a beautiful book.
I love that book. You recommended it to me and I read it years ago, and I think I've read it once or twice since then. And I'll just add one last thing, that Melissa and I co-facilitate an abundance and prosperity book club that meets on Mondays at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. And if you feel not very abundant in your life or in your spiritual community, if you feel lacking in that area and would like a little mini community to join, just reach out to us and we'll send you the details.
Yeah, I would just like to say, before I ever heard of that book, Penny, I don't know, somehow in some way it dawned on me that that's how I should look at money. Many, many years ago, is that it doesn't belong to me, right? Just like our children, they come through us, right? But they don't belong to us. And I think that's a good place to start for people when you think about money. It's just it's an energy, like Morgan said. It's just an energy. And if you can look at it that way, and it's flowing through you, and flowing to another person, and more will flow through you. The more you release, the more will flow through you. Yeah, and that's the only purpose of it, is to flow through you. It's not to put in the bank for the rainy day.
Okay, it's okay to put some in the bank for a rainy day.
It's not the purpose. Well, it is okay, because you have to work with where you are. But the goal should be that you're trusting that your future will also be abundant.
Yeah.
And you don't have to hold on to anything.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. And
okay,
that
we do have
that attachment that you spoke about, I think it was your sister, like attachment always causes suffering. And that is a constriction, and that is pinching off the arteries of the flow. And yes. Okay. All right. I think that's a wrap. I feel like this is a topic we could go on and on and on about for episodes on end.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many ways to look at abundance and prosperity. And I think that's what we've just barely scratched the surface. Yeah. We barely squeezed the lemon today. We just got a little juice out of it, right? Yeah. We're all puckered up now.
Did any splash out onto the saucer, Penny?
I think a little bit. I think it was all saucer today, actually, because we were all talking about giving from our abundance, our overflow. Yeah. Yeah. So I have a couple Post-its for us. Okay. So the first one is when the heart is fully open, an abundant mindset is easy. That's what you were saying very early on, Drusilla. I loved that. And then I also loved that. I think I'm going to get it to give all to all.
You got it.
Oh my gosh. That was so hard for me to get for a second, but I got it. So, any announcements from anybody? And then we'll do the Change Me prayer. Anybody have anything coming up that they'd like to share with our listeners that they can join in and get to know us better? We all have 3 of us are spiritual counselors, Morgan, Drusilla, and Amanda. You can find them at our website on how to reach them. Melissa and I do some coaching. You can find us all. And we're going to charge you, but we are abundant. We are abundant in our what we have to offer. Absolutely.
Yes.
So let's do the Change Me prayer, and just know that you can find us on our website, 5lemonslaughing.com, 5 FIVE. You can find us in Instagram and Facebook, as well as all the podcast platforms. And if you're listening to this right now, you already know all that. So I probably don't have to say it again. Anyway, so this is the Change Me prayer by Tosha Silver from her book, It's Not Your Money, How to Live Fully from Divine Abundance. So however you want to receive this, I like to put my hands on my heart and, get my feet on the floor and take a breath in and out. Just settle in to this beautiful prayer. Divine Beloved, allow me to give with complete ease and abundance, knowing that you are the unlimited source of all. Let me be an easy, open conduit for your prosperity. Let me trust that all my own needs are always met in amazing ways, and that it's safe to give freely as my heart guides. And equally, let me feel wildly open to receiving. May I know my own value, beauty, and worthiness without question. Let me allow others the supreme pleasure of giving to me. May I feel worthy to receive in every possible way. Change me into one who can fully love, forgive, and accept myself, so I may carry your light without restriction. Let everything that needs to go, go. Let everything that needs to come, come. I am utterly your own. You are me. I am you. We are one. All is well. So that's beautiful. A wrap, ladies. So let's go live abundantly, no matter what that is for each and every one of you. Have a really beautiful rest of your week, and we'll see you next week with another riveting episode.
Bye for now.
Bye. Bye, Mary Lou.
And Larissa.
Yeah. Bye, Mary Lou.